What's going on, everybody? It is that time again. The Sooners Illustrated Podcast, episode 81 on this Monday, May 6th, 2024. Josh Callaway, James D. Jackson with you on a Monday. Tom Green on vacation. He's off somewhere in Europe, just
Europe, man.
Back up by a pool, probably. No telling what he's doing. We'll catch back up with him next Monday. But just James and I today. The portal dust feels like it's probably settled what Oklahoma's going to have lost and gained. Let's recap a little bit how they did in the portal. We'll break that down a little bit. And, of course, the weekend that was for the Diamond Sports, OU softball loses the Bedlam series. James was there for all three games. We'll recap it, panic meter, all that. We'll get into it. And OU baseball is rolling. We'll talk about that on the back end of the show as well. But let's start with the portal stuff, like I said, James, obviously. So I talked about it with Colin on the Friday show. They got Dominic Williams. That was their big fish. That was what they're hoping for. Big, huge get, all that. Everybody knows that. Colin and I talked about that on Friday. It seems like they're probably done in the portal. Now, if the right guy comes along, who knows? Maybe you can try to make something happen. But more than likely, it seems like they've got the guys. They added Branson Hickman from SMU, Jermaine Lole from Louisville, defensive tackle, and now Dominic Williams. The guys they lost, nobody earth-shattering. I wouldn't say the biggest names are certainly Justin Harrington, right? And Gavin Freeman, who left earlier last week. Josiah Wagner, Shane Witter. He also lost General Booty. So those are the guys you lost. Those are the guys you gained. So my question, simple one, James, how do you feel like they did in the portal? What did they, with what they lost, what they gained? Is this team better than they were before? Just kind of sum up how you feel this portal window, this cycle went for Oklahoma. The losses, the gains kind of both factored in.
I think it went really well for Oklahoma. Like, that's just putting it point blank. I think it went really well. So, yeah, you lost some guys, General Booty, Gavin Freeman, the list goes, that short list. They weren't a lot of guys that were expected to play a lot. Let's just put it out there. Like, right, Gavin Freeman was going to get, his playing time because he's done that. But it wasn't all the other guys that left weren't guys that were going to see the field too much to affect a lot of things drastically for this team. When we were looking at what we wanted Oklahoma to bring in, it was like offensive line, center especially, if you want to do the offensive line, and defensive tackle. They got two defensive tackles, the best one in the transfer portal at that, and they got one of the best centers in the transfer portal. I mean, so like he's even expected to maybe even start now for Oklahoma on the offensive line. So it's like, what more could you ask for? I mean, when you think about in terms of what you wanted the Oklahoma coaching staff to get in this transfer portal session. Now, maybe you wanted the offensive tackle. Maybe you grab somebody like that, but who in the portal would have been, of benefit to Oklahoma? You don't want to just bring a body in to have a body. You want somebody that can play at this power. Is it power four now? Power four,
I guess. Yeah,
at this level. Yeah. So it's like it's. I think it went really well for OU. I mean, I can't imagine anything better than what they got. I mean, the Dominic Williams situation. Man, that was like, it took forever for that to even go down. I mean, we were waiting all day long for that. We were just texting back and forth like, we're still waiting to be on the lookout because I'm ready to send a notification. I'm just ready to do it. And so that was fun that Oklahoma was in it for a defensive tackle of that caliber, and they won a battle that obviously was, between a couple of schools because it went that long. So it wasn't just like easy peasy. So shout out to Dominic Williams' brother, who I'm sure helped with the situation. He got an offer from OU. At the time. Shout out to the coaching staff and what they were able to do. I think it was a really good transfer portal session. I mean, just putting it all out there. That's what it is for me.
I'm with you. I mean, you lost guys at positions of surplus, right? I mean, Gavin Freeman, that wide receiver room we talked about a bunch of times is as loaded as any on the team. Same thing with the cornerback room and the guys they have coming in. And then you talk about Shane Witter, guys just buried on the depth chart. Justin Harrington would be the only one of the guys they lost that you would say probably would have saw the field. But again, it's another position of surplus with that cheetah room, the guys they like there. You're starting to work in. You saw in the spring camp the Samuel Masigos of the world, those types of guys that are rising, stock riser guys. So yeah, you didn't lose anybody earth-shattering, in my opinion. And then you added where you needed to. We talked about the very beginning. When the portal opened, I asked you and Tom, where did this team need to add? And with no hesitation, you guys both said they need to add in the trenches.
Man.
Offensive line, defensive line. And they did that, right? They added a guy who I think probably starts at center in week one, and Branson Hickman. And then you added two defensive tackles that at the very least are going to be rotational pieces. Dominic Williams is probably the best defensive tackle on the team. Either him or DeJoun Terry. Probably going to start for you. So, yeah, I mean, I think he did everything you want. Like you said, probably maybe a tackle would be the only thing you could have wanted. But like Colin, I talked about on Friday, good starting level offensive tackles just don't get in the portal. That's just not a thing. You can't add something that doesn't exist in this post-spring portal window. There's not a lot of options in the portal that you would say are even equal to what OU already has on the roster. And they added back in the pre-portal window with Spencer Brown. He didn't have the camp probably he had hoped. I don't think you can just write him off as a potential option. So you did add a tackle just back before the winter window, if you want to say it like that. You got to figure out that the offensive line. That's going to be a question all summer and into fall camp still. But as far as what was actually achievable in this post-spring window,
they got it done.
I don't know what else you could really ask for. Yeah.
I mean, just imagine this with Caden Green hadn't transferred out. I mean, you talked about they don't usually get in. He was one of the few guys that ever got in, a guy like his rating to get into the transfer portal. They still had his offensive line together, man. It's not a lot of weak points on this team that we can really be scared about going into the season, I guess you could say. Just putting it out there. It's like every position, you're very, very comfortable. I know a lot of people are Thunder fans out here. The Thunder have like 11 guys that they can play. Outside of Shea and all, the guys just rotate in. It never stops for them. I'm starting to see that with Oklahoma football. Every position group is pretty full, man. Like, I mean, you talked about it. Guys like Gavin Freeman and Justin Harrison leaving. I mean, it shows you what's going on in Oklahoma. Those guys could play. It's just they want more. You got to get more. It's things like that.
Yeah.
And shout out to Gavin Freeman for landing at Oklahoma State. Staying in state and things like that. That's good for him. But I mean, just overall, you can't really do much better than this. So I know we'll be talking about it for like 7 minutes now, but that's pretty much the sentiment of it, man. It's just
I wonder if like you said, Gavin Freeman ended up at Oklahoma State. I wonder how much easier that was for him. Obviously, an OU legacy. His dad played at OU. The fact that they're not going to play anymore, because I wonder
exactly
how much more tough would that have been to stomach for that family who was OU through and through if they would be coming to Norman next year to play. That might have been a little harder to do. But the fact that they're in different conferences, I think it almost makes it more like, I don't say acceptable as if it wouldn't have been okay before, but like it's kind of like, it's one of those things. It's more like it's fine. And OU fans were very good about it, which was good to see. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like we kind of said, I don't. With what was actually attainable in this window, I think you did it, everything you could have hoped. And I will say probably the biggest bummer maybe is just losing General Booty, just for the vibes. Just to have that name on the roster, it just feels good. So to lose General Booty kind of stinks. We'll see where he winds up. He seems like he's having a decent market for him.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
And stuff, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think Iowa's a good spot for him, man, because they just need somebody that can just complete passes at this point. And like, he would be the guy. I mean, when I wrote the story, I kind of got another reminder of what he did at the junior college level and how good he was. Like over 5,000 yards. Like, I mean, it's just that guy he was an animal at the time, man. So like, he has the talent. I've said it on this pod. He's looked good working out during this spring session. I thought he looked pretty good out there. So I've seen him get more polished, and so he's gonna have. Obviously he has a market. He's proven it, and so I think he'll have a good landing spot here. Maybe Iowa's the best fit for him because they already play really good defense. So a quarterback like that doesn't turn the ball over could be very beneficial for them, even if he's the one or two guy for them. So enough for Iowa talk. Let's get back to OU.
Yeah, he could also stay in state too because Tulsa I saw was interested in.
Okay,
general.
that's a good.
That'd be cool too. I like that too. So we'll see where he winds up. But yeah, it was a good portal window, and like I said, they may not necessarily be done. The right guy comes along, they could maybe try to make it work. There was some thought they maybe would add a corner or consider it. Maybe if the right guy came along, if somehow a tackle. Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? So we'll see. A coach leaves and open. There's still some. It's kind of always crazy, but it seems like they probably dust have settled, and we kind of are where we're at with this team. The question mark is obviously going to still be offensive line, like we just said, those tackles, and just kind of figuring out elsewhere on the roster. I don't know if I really have any questions. Do you have any other questions on the roster as we kind of shift into full blown summer off-season mode? They seem like the depth is there, kind of everywhere.
The depth is there, man.
Yeah,
it's there. That's what we're saying. Like we said Trench's Tom and I, when you asked the question, and like you get those two defensive tackles, man.
Yeah,
you're comfortable with the defensive line now. So now it's all on the offensive line. Now the talent on the offensive line is there. It's just how will they gel? I mean, that's the question. Like can you guys be a cohesive unit? You know, can you guys see things the right way? Because you bring in Brenton Hickman, who's most of the time the center is the one that's calling the shots on the offensive line, who's blocking who basically up there. So getting familiar with him, letting the offensive line gel, getting Jackson Arnold on that same page as well. That's the biggest thing now. It's not really the talent. I mean, the guys there going to have talent. You know, they have the talent, and you got Coach Beatenbow developing them, and I mean he's proven to be the best at it. So how will they gel? That's going to be the biggest thing, and that's probably what we're going to be writing a lot when we get to the fall camp and things like that. Because outside of them, I mean, I can't complain about where OU's at this point.
For sure, just between Bates, Jake Taylor, maybe a Logan Howland. Like you just need like two of those guys to step up,
exactly,
or maybe even just one. You know, I mean, just because you have Fabetch away who had a nice camp, it sounds like, and you bring Sexton back, like we said, and we'll get Troy Everett healthy, get Gary and Hatchett healthy, and they'll piece. The bodies are there, like we said, and they'll have to figure out Bill Beatenbow. He knows what he's doing, so that'll be a major topic, obviously, throughout the summer and into fall camp. But that's really the only question right now. The roster's in pretty good shape otherwise. So
I guess the other would be, how are they going to use the tight end? Because we still didn't see the tight end in the passing game be effective in the spring game. So you thought when Joe John Finley got the hire, the bump up, he's a tight ends coach. You were thinking, okay, they're going to use the tight ends a lot more now because that's his bread and butter. We didn't see that. I don't know if that's just because they didn't want to try anything too different at that point in time, because guys are still hurt in that lineup. Guys are still banged up. So maybe when they get everybody back, they'll start trying more stuff. But I guess those are the two questions that you'll have going to the fall camp for Oklahoma.
100%. And obviously, like I said, we'll have plenty of time to get into more of that throughout the summer and media days in a couple of months, and fall camp about 3-ish months from now. But overall, I think we're all in agreement, Tom and Colin as well. Roster's in pretty good place and in pretty good shape. So not a lot of complaints right now for that. The way the roster kind of looks as it forms and gets ready for this season coming up, year 3 for Brent Venables. Let's shift over to some Diamond Sports. So you were in Norman throughout the weekend at Love's Field for the Bedlam series. Don't want to say final Bedlam series because it sounds like they are going to play, continuing to play.
Before you get into it, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to talk about this really fast. The Oklahoma women's basketball team getting Reagan Beers out of the transfer portal, because when you look at this team and what they were going to return, it was like 98% around the board of all the production that they had, scoring, rebounding, assisting, all that stuff was like 98%. The one thing that this team needed that you saw during this season was like, man, if they had a big center, this team could really be a problem for teams, because they already play really well. They went and got Reagan Beers out of the portal, who's a 6'4" center. And she was not just like a body out there. She was the best player on that Oregon State team. I mean, All-American, the first player to win Pac-12 Freshman of the Year and 6th Player of the Year in the same season. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, bringing somebody like that in, she was scoring about 20 points and over 10 rebounds a game for Oregon State. And so that is a big win for OU women's basketball. This season may be like a year that you really have to gear up to watch this team, because they could be a top 5 team based on the production that they're bringing back and the talent they're going to have now with Reagan Beers coming in. I mean, it's incredible what they're doing. Now, I know you guys have talked about the men's basketball transfer portal, obviously, on the last show. And so getting this here for the women's side, there's so much comfortability right now. If nobody transfers out, this team is very, very comfortable where they are. And people have been asking on the board, like, are there any updates on, women's basketball? It's like, I mean, what else do you want them to do, man? That's like there's one scholarship spot left, based on everybody that's coming back and bringing her in. So like, there's not a lot of activity because they're very complete around. I mean, this is incredible what Jeannie Baranchek and that staff have done. So shout out to them. I wanted to point it out on the show before.
No, I'm glad you brought it up, because that was a huge get. I mean, they beat UConn like head to head. Years, which is insane that Jenny B could pull off a direct recruiting win like that for a highly coveted player in the portal. And then, I'm sure you saw, I think it was, I don't remember when it was last week at some point, women's basketball Twitter account, they put out like a graphic that had their returning production. And it was like 98% of their points, 97% of their rebounds. Like it was crazy. And so, they're going to have, off what was a really good team, obviously, a lot of their team back, and then you just added one of the most highly coveted players in the portal. You beat UConn head-to-head. I mean, Jenny B's got that thing humming.
She's got it, man. She's got it. I mean, obviously, the Pac-12 is no more, so that's explains a lot of why Reagan Beers was even in the transfer portal. It's not like she's not loyal or was looking for a bag and things like that. This is actually a player that was like, I was playing here. It was a big conference. I don't necessarily want to go to where are they moving to?
Oregon State's nowhere. They're just floating. I think they're in like the Mountain West or something.
Yeah, that's something like that. So it's like, I want to move to an actual big conference and play. And so that seems to be what this situation was. And I want to put words in her mouth, but that seems to be what the situation was.
Sure.
I'm hoping we'll get to talk to her pretty soon about all of this and everything and the stories behind it. But let's go ahead and get back to the Diamond Sports.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. No, that was a big win in the portal. Kind of got, I don't say lost in the shuffle because it was just last week was so insane. Dominic Williams and everything. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
As far as the Diamond Sports, so, about a month ago, we talked on the show after the Texas series where they lost 2 down in Austin. They never lose series. We're talking about OU softball here.
Exactly.
And we kind of did a panic meter at the time of like, where we kind of at with this team. Are they still capable of putting together a run? Obviously, it felt so. I mean, they still have a lot of the pieces that have done it. Obviously that senior class certainly. But a month later, Bedlam series at home, they lose 2 or 3 again. It's just shocking to see them lose series because they just didn't do it for so long. So they didn't win the Big 12, obviously. Ended a long streak there. You were at all these games. You're watching the team. You're talking to coaches and players afterward. Just kind of give me a sense of where you're at with the team right now. I mean, obviously, the bar is so crazy high with that program right now. You win 3 national titles in a row, and they're one of the best programs in college sports. To see them struggle a little, and struggle again is relative. They still won, what are they, like 45-6 or 46? I mean, they're still 46. Way over 5. Like they're still one of the top 5 at least teams in the country. But to lose the Bedlam series after you lost a Texas series earlier in the year, it's stunning. Where are you kind of at after watching those games this weekend, and kind of your confidence that this team is still capable of making a run and trying to go for 4 in a row?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, as we said, it's been unprecedented for a team to even be this good that they've been. No team has ever won 4 national championships in a row in softball. Like that's just, it just has never been done. And so it was already a tough thing to go after. It's hard to get mentally prepared for that throughout the season. I mean, these seniors, the 10 seniors that they have, a lot of those players are pretty much the greatest class of softball that's ever been. I wrote that story the other day. It's because they've accomplished so much already. 3 national championships and a 73 win winning streak, which is the NCAA record. It's like this is the last thing that they got to do. And so when we were talking about these games with coaches and the players after the losses, it was like I'm so used to in the media scrums. It's like everybody's joking around. It's all fun. Everything, the players and everybody's on a high. But there was noticeable frustration this time around, it was just such a different environment for us and for the team. It's like Alyssa Brito was fighting back tears and couldn't really, she didn't want to talk a lot. It was like, we're going to get this, like, we're going to be better. Watch. It's basically what it was. It was like, and Gassel was like, that just shows you like, this is a team that hasn't been, in this situation, but it shows you that there's clear frustration. This team is not going to quit. There's never going to quit on the program or what they're trying to do. They know what they have to do. They're just not doing it right now. And that's the most frustrating part. And so in game 3, when they came out against Oklahoma State, they looked like their former selves. That 6th inning where they just hammered it. It was like it was exactly what you wanted for a senior day celebration because it was the seniors that were doing it in that final inning. Riley Boone got on. She got her Boone cheers. And Jada Coleman got on. Sydney Sanders, she helped out. Then Ella Parker, who's a freshman, she kind of showed you who's going to be next with that big bomb to center field to help that rally keep going. Tiara Jennings got a home run in that. And so that was cool to see. It's like maybe that final inning of their, final home game, in regular season home game, I guess I should say, they're going to host. But their regular season final home game, maybe they found it. Whatever happened in those talks, whatever happened, they found their groove again. And maybe that can help them lead into this Big 12 tournament, which – they're going to be in uncharted territory because OU had won 12 straight regular season titles. So they were the 1 seed all those years. This is the first time they're going to be a 2 seed in a very long time. How are they going to handle that? That's going to be the big thing. But as we said, the problems that they had early on the season when we talked last time about them when they were 3-3 in that week. It was just not being able to string hits together, not be able to play a cohesive lineup at the time. And that's what was rearing its ugly head again in this series, those first 2 games. They just couldn't get the hits they needed. And Patty Gasso pointed out, I mean, Oklahoma State has great pitchers. So, I mean, we were expecting the low scoring pretty much. Is our defense and our pitching staff needs to be more solid. And that's what they wanted. And so they got that in game 3. They got that with Carly Keeney coming into the circle. Not the player you thought would be the best pitcher against Oklahoma State. Right. She proved it. I mean, she had looked at the whole series. In game 1 and game 2, she came in relief and looked pretty good. And so she got to start in game 3. And it played really well for Oklahoma in that game. So that's pretty much what it was. I mean, I know I'm rambling on, so I'm gonna let you get to your baseball side, but I mean, that was the sentiment. That was what's going on with that.
No, yeah. I mean, the Sunday game, it kind of felt like it showed a little bit like it's still in there. You know, like that team that's just a buzzsaw is still in there. It's been a little just, again, the bar is so high because it's just for years of just every game. I mean, only losing a couple of times a season in the last few years.
Exactly.
They're still really good. The postseason starts this week, Big 12 tournament. And then obviously with the full bracket. And like you said, they're going to host a regional. They're going to host a super regional. So they're going to have the home path back to OKC, which is Devon Park now, which is going to get really sad.
That was weird. It just happened today.
It's really weird. So I guess as the postseason starts, I'll ask you this. And then, like I said, we'll shift over to baseball to wrap up. But just postseason starts this week. It still feels like they're more than capable of making a run and maybe winning 4 in a row. I mean, if you made me pick, I mean, how many teams are capable of winning the national title? You have to include them in it, that pool, right? They're not as good as they've been. They're not dominant. It's not a sure thing. Like, I'd be shocked if they don't. We're not at that level this year, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did either. Confidence level for you that they could still do this, that they can still, a month from now, we'll be sitting here talking about they're in OKC and they're playing great and they could win a national title. Where are you kind of at on that as far as you get in the postseason now?
This is one of those questions that is very tough to answer at this time because you talk about the record that they have, obviously, over 40 games and things like that. And a lot of fans on the board, you're seeing it. They're like, this team is not going to win. There's no way. And then, like, some people are saying, well, there's only 6 losses on the schedule. It's not like the end of the world. But from what I know, they're seeing it and I'm seeing it as well. The reason that they feel that way is because they're not even playing well. They're not even clicking. And this is late in the season. That's the issue. It's very hard to just turn it on, and win these series as you need to if you're not already clicking. Patty Gasso said it like a month and a half ago. They want to start clicking at that time. They look pretty good from there on, but this last series made its rears ugly head again. Like, there's a chance that they don't click. And so that's why people are saying what they're saying. Me personally, I think those seniors are going to really turn up here because it's like they have something to play for. Obviously, that regular season, it was just like, this is our final hurrah. Maybe that was just what their case was. But now it's like, we're going to be the first to do something. And so you have that leadership and you have 2 freshmen, Cassidy Pickering and Ella Parker, who are, going to be in the finals in, freshman of the year candidates. You have those players along with them that can really step up into the moment. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing for OU. If they can do that, I mean, I'm very high, up to an 8 or 9 based on, if those players play the way they want to. The only issue or difference this year is because I think Texas, I think Oklahoma State have gotten better than they were in previous years. Yeah. And that could be the wrench that's thrown into this. So after this Big 12 tournament, we're really going to see where the teams are at. If OU wins that, I'm back. I'm up to a 10. I'm like, this team is going to win it because I feel like the top 3 teams are those 3 teams. In this Big 12 tournament, I think those are going to be. This is going to be the decision here. So that's where I'm at. I know it's a roundabout answer, and I'm sorry about that, but it's just like those are the way I'm feeling about. This way I'm feeling about this series at the time. So,
and I'm with you 100% on. I think this week will be telling. Playing in OKC, that's where they play the Big 12 tournament. They play it at the Hall of Fame Stadium. I don't know the name anymore. That's where they play it. If barring something insane, they will play OSU in the semis, and then if they won that, they play Texas in the finals.
Exactly.
You go win this week. You win those 2 games. You win the Big 12 tournament, and all of a sudden, how different everything feels. Because all of a sudden now you split 4 games with both of them. after losing the regular season series, and you're going into the postseason riding the momentum, having just won the Big 12 tournament.
Big 12, exactly.
This week will be telling. If they go win that Big 12 tournament, I think the fan base, I think everybody, it's going to be right back up to a 10 of we can do this. So this is a big week. This week will be telling. And again, like Oklahoma, they're going to host a regional. They're going to host a super regional. Obviously, you want to help your season as much as you can. The important thing is, at the end of the day, in both baseball and softball, that you just get in that top 8. If you're just in the top 8, you host the first 2 rounds.
Yep.
But for Oklahoma, this is an important week, maybe more than it's ever been, because you want just to have that belief. And if you go win the Big 12 tournament this week, beating those 2 teams in the process, the belief will be there. So it's going to be a big week. I assume you'll be there at the Big 12 tournament.
Yep. Already been credentialed. I'm all there, man.
There you go. And so James has been killing it with softball coverage. So more to come. Again, become a VIP subscriber, be on the site, be plugged into all that. Have a huge weekend on the site because of all the softball. So more to come as we get to the most fun time of year, the postseason. It's the best for the Diamond Sports.
If you're VIP on our site, Josh and I, when we cover these games, we're pitch by pitch. Every pitch is in there. So it's like you want to be there because you don't miss a thing. We're putting everything in there. I'm getting stats from the SIDs in the game. They're telling me this hasn't happened since 2006. Okay, I'm gonna put that in the board. I'll put it in there for you. So if you want that type of knowledge and that type of fun when you're watching these games, because you can watch it with your phone in your hand while watching the game live.
Lots of our
hang out with us, man. It's pretty fun. So
yeah, absolutely. As far as baseball, to kind of wrap up, obviously there's still some meat on the bone with their season. They got a couple weeks left here, but they're humming. They're playing at a really high level. You know, it's funny because I talked about how a month ago we talked about softball. We kind of did the panic meter after they lost that Texas series. We did the same for baseball after they lost the Bedlam series that weekend. And pretty much since then, they've just been a wagon. This team is elite offensively. It's amazing to watch this team take at bats 1 through 9. Everyone's got power. Everyone's got some speed, can steal a bag for you. Everybody hits for high average. Everybody can drop down a bunt. It's amazing. It's a really fun team to watch, especially offensively. They're going to go as far as the pitching will take them, obviously. The top 2 in the rotation, Braden Davis on Friday, Kyson Witherspoon on Saturdays, are both rocking. They're both pitching at a very high level. They're still trying to figure out the Sunday. It was Grant Stevens for a while. Before that, it was Jamie Hitt, and they have Brendan Girton. They've been kind of moving the pieces around on the Sunday spot. The bullpen kind of the same. Like there's 2 or 3 guys you feel really good about. Dylan Crooks, Malachi Witherspoon is looking like clearly your closer. He had a heart-stopping save in yesterday's game with the tying run at second, nobody out, strikeout, ground out, fly out to end the game, strand that runner, you win it. Big sweep. So 5th sweep of the year when they swept Texas Tech this weekend. That's the most in program history. Texas Tech hadn't been swept at home in the Big 12 under Tim Tadlock, who's been there forever, over a decade. Never happened before. That changed. They swept them in Lubbock this weekend. The team is really good. And the only question whenever they were humming, they won 9 in a row, and they vaulted themselves into first place. My only real question was, how will they respond when eventually they lose again? Because baseball is not, I've said it many times, it's not football. It's not softball. Teams lose. Even the best teams lose series. Number 1 A&M just lost a series this weekend. Like it happens. It happens all the time. Yeah. How will they respond and get it back on the tracks when eventually that does happen? And it happened last weekend. They lost that doubleheader to Texas. We talked about it last week on the show, that rain-shortened game, just weird, ugly day. They lose the midweek game to Oral Roberts on Tuesday. The bats just couldn't get it going. How would they respond? And they went and they swept Texas Tech in Lubbock. And they really took it to them right away on Friday, 8-0. I mean, team is really good. They're really fun to watch. They're 3 games clear of everyone else in the Big 12 with 6 to go, which means if they just win 4 games the last 2 weekends, no matter what else happens, they would win the Big 12. They're really good. They're in position to host. They could maybe get, if they keep winning, get into the fringe, maybe possibility of that super regional conversation. But the team is really good. They're really fun to watch. We're set up for a fun finish here. Skip and Reggie Willits, they've just done an incredible job. The lineup is just – it's just a buzzsaw. John Spikerman is back, all the way back. He's throwing guys out from the outfield. He's hitting bombs. I mean, the team is so much fun. And we're set up for a fun finish. Huge weekend coming up. Baylor comes in, last home weekend of the year. Should be great weather. And like I said, they're in position to win the Big 12. If they sweep Baylor, they will win the Big 12. And Baylor's one of the bottom teams in the conference. So the opportunity is there. The team is playing at an unbelievably high level. It's just a lot of fun to watch right now.
So let me play host for a second. Let me ask you the questions this time.
Sure.
All right. So looking at everything you just said, you 6 games left. They need to win 4 to obviously win the whole thing. What's your confidence level that they win the Big 12? I'm not going to say national title because that may be too much too soon.
Yeah.
But what's your confidence level with them winning the Big 12? 6 games left, got to win 4. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go like scale of 1 to 10, I would say like probably like a 9. I mean,
okay.
I mean, they got a vice grip on it. I mean, like I said, if they win 4, it doesn't matter what else happens. They win the Big 12. If they go 3-3, they still are going to share it, and that's only if one of those. And there's 3 teams tied behind them. They would all have to go 6-0, right? I mean,
exactly.
For our math majors out there. I mean, likely 3 wins will probably do the trick because those other teams will all have to go 6-0 to finish. One of them would have to catch you. So, yeah, I mean, really high. The way they're playing right now, and the schedule worked out pretty nicely for them. I said it back about 3-4 weeks ago. The second half of their schedule was a lot easier than the first half, and they navigated the first half pretty well. The back half of their schedule was a lot more manageable. They have Baylor coming in this week, and then Cincinnati to finish in Cincinnati. Cincinnati is one of the bottom half teams in the Big 12. Now, Cincinnati just took 2 or 3 from West Virginia. They're capable. They're a solid team, but they're one of the bottom half teams in the conference. It's not a top end team, probably not a tournament team. Baylor's definitely not. They're one of the bottom teams in the conference. So, yeah, I think the confidence has to be really high that they're going to win the Big 12, which they've never done. Won the regular season title in program history. They won the tournament. Obviously, we know that. They did it 2 years ago when they went to Omaha. But, yeah, confidence has to be really high. And, I think the main final kind of thought is that as it stands today on May 6th, everything you could hope for, every goal, every aspiration, if you're an OU fan, is on the table completely. I think it's totally possible that this team could make another run back to Omaha. They're in position, like I said, to if you win the Big 12, you are going to host. I have a hard time imagining that wouldn't happen. I think they're going to be projected to host anyway on like when the new Wednesday projections come out. But if you win the Big 12, you're going to host, which they're in great shape to do, like we just said. So you're in position to host. The way it's all kind of piecing together, the way they're hitting, the way they play defense. I mean, nothing's a given in college baseball. Teams that have been historically good in the regular season have flamed out quickly in the postseason because it's different. Crazy things happen. It's baseball, but they're more than capable, in my mind, of getting to Omaha. And once you get to Omaha, after that, all bets are off for what can happen from there. So the team is really good. People are, I think, fans are completely realized it. The crowds have been awesome this year. I expect them to be awesome again this weekend. It's a great team. It's a really fun team. And like you said, you're dominating the softball. I'm doing my part on baseball, I like to think. And hopefully people jump aboard with us on the VIP message. We're set up for a fun finish.
Let's not downgrade what Josh Callaway has done on the baseball beat. I mean, there isn't. I don't think there is a series or game he hasn't been to this season. I mean, Skip Johnson was thanking him for even coming to one of the games. He was the only one there. I don't remember what game it was, but it's like he's been there every game. So if you want your knowledge, this is the place to be, especially on the baseball side. I think I do all right on the softball side. This guy right here, man. This is what you want to do. All right.
We got it. We got it on lock. We know what we're doing out here. We got it on lock. Sooners Illustrated. Become a VIP member. It's going to be a fun finish the rest of the way. We're set up. I've talked about it a few times. We are spoiled. Softball and baseball provide lots of fun and content for us throughout May and into June. And we are set up. Big weekend coming up for both sports softball has the Big 12 tournament, baseball final home weekend of the regular season. They can't win the Big 12 this weekend. Well, actually they could if like certain things probably won't, but they can put themselves in great position if they continue to win. So I think that's it for now. I'll have the Thursday show with Colin later in the week to hit some more recruiting stuff. Big decision coming tomorrow with Tristan Haynes making his commitment. Colin and I will certainly react to that one way or another on the Thursday program. And other recruiting news and things like that, portal stuff. Tom will rejoin James and I next Monday. We'll recap the weekends for Diamond Sports. You can expect Diamond Sports Talk to be pretty regular on the show the rest of the way through the rest of the season. And anything else worth getting into football, basketball-wise, we'll get into it on the show as well. So we'll see you back here then. James, have a good weekend at the Big 12 tournament. I'll be getting down to Norman. for OU baseball. Also, state tournaments in baseball this week too. Busy week, busy times.
Track as well. I was trying to get off the track, but I mean, base softball
you were locked down. Yeah, you were locked down. That rain delay on Saturday we were talking about before we started recording. That was not necessary. That was not needed.
Yeah.
But you powered through. You powered through. I felt bad for you a little bit.
4 pitches in
3:15 starting time at like noon. That was tough. But you powered through.
Yeah.
And so we'll be back later the week with Colin, and then James, Tom, and I will hit it back next Monday. So that's it for now. Appreciate you tuning in as always. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get it. We'll be back on Thursday with Colin, and then James, Tom, and I will hit it next Monday right back here on the Sooners Illustrated podcast.
See you.